that's why I'm excited to bring Marissa Nelson on, who has created Intimacy Moons. Marissa, welcome to Let's Talk.
Hi, thank you so much. It's wonderful to be here with you.
Oh, my pleasure, my pleasure. So tell us, what Intimacy Moons does or is, and how you kind of work with couples.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely. So I was in private practice for many years in DC. And, in our beautiful district, we have a lot of, busy, successful people who are working and doing families. And sometimes it's really hard for them to be intentional about their relationships. And so, after being in private practice for so long, and also when couples hit a bump in the road, sometimes a partner might not want to go to therapy, particularly in communities of color. So one of the things that I said was, you know, it might be hard to go to therapy, but nobody ever had a problem going on vacation. And so Intimacy Moons is a luxury couples retreat experience to support couples in reconnecting and reigniting intimacy, communication, and their relationship on all levels from the inside out. And so that was really the catalyst behind Intimacy Moons. And since then, between private practice as well as all of my work, it's really been dedicated to really help couples level up and take their relationship and intimacy from meh to meaningful and something that really feels wonderful for them.
we talked about, I asked Ms. Joe Houston, I mean, just like with training and exercise, after a while, sometimes it can get a little bit boring, and so can relationships, right? As you just said. And so, what do you find couples struggle with the most when you talk to them?
There are a couple of different, let's just say, files or buckets that couples fall under. I mean, for the most part, I think I've done quite a bit of premarital counseling, but most of the couples that I work with have been together plus 15, 20, 25 years.
Mm.
And so really understanding when you pull up the hood and with a couple who've been together for a long time, some of the challenges that they face. One, we talk about communication and conflict repair. We're never not communicating. Silence is communication. Walking away or shutting down is communication. So we're always communicating. Is it effective? Does it reach our partner or does it shut things down? And so really helping partners understand how to best communicate, to share what their feelings, their needs, their wants, their hopes and desires are, um, or to be able to communicate that in a way that their partner can really receive, and also be able to hold space with listening, and beyond just active listening, really holding space for their partner's reality. Because sometimes one of the biggest issues I see with couples is we misinterpret, we overanalyze, we're in our heads. And we are not always understanding and listening to our partner's needs as well. We want to respond, we want to defend ourselves, but our partners really do have needs as well. And so sometimes it gets to in these patterns of compliance. If you don't agree with me, like that's it, the communication is done. And I think that one of the biggest things that I'm working through is how do we handle conflict and how do we handle repair? So that's the next part of communication. We're two different people from two different lifestyles and upbringings and whatnot. So, not being having an argument is not necessarily a bad thing. Conflict itself is not necessarily a bad thing, but it's how do we repair? How do we come back to each other? How are we working through this issue? Are we sweeping it under the rug and acting like there's no issue because we're afraid of conflict? Or are we just kind of like, does it just boil over and we do not repair or come back and apologize or come back and have accountability or share accountability with our partner when we get it wrong? So that's one huge thing that I deal with mostly. The
Mhm.
second bucket, let's talk about intimacy. Intimacy is an integral part
I
of
was
our
gonna say,
relationship and of satisfaction and pleasure. But for people of color, we have not always been trained or felt that are deserving and worthy of intimacy. And so sometimes there are periods, maybe when you met or when you've gotten, close to somebody in the beginning of your relationship where it was hot and heavy. And then now, as things have evolved, kids, work, stress, life, that's one of those things that have fallen to the wayside, or something that you only experience for yourself and it's not a collective and shared couples experience. And so helping couples really redefine what intimacy means for them, and knowing that intimacy also evolves as we evolve. We are aging, we are moving through the life cycle. So what we needed in our 20s is very different than what we need in our 40s and our 50s and beyond. So how are we evolving together? What conversations are we having so that we know how to feel pleasure in our bodies now, and that we're not just operating off of old scripts, or old routines that no longer work for us. And I would say the last bucket is also infidelity and trust issues. Trust can come in a lot of different forms, from financial, to emotional and affair recovery. And so couples really navigating that season of life and really trying to work through what it means to repair and decide whether this relationship still serves them 15 years, 20 years, 25 years, 30 plus years later, is a big bucket of the work that I do.
I'm gonna ask a wild question, but have you
Sure.
ever told a couple, I mean, when you've done some therapy with couples, that, well, maybe it is a good idea for you all to take a moment and pause. You know what I'm saying?
Let's talk about at least through my lens, the
Okay.
role of therapist as I
Yeah.
see it. My
Mhm.
role as therapist is always to be a blind spot mirror. It
Okay.
is to be a mirror, it's to reflect back patterns, it's to help you understand what your deeper truths are, and to also help create space so that both of you can share that with each other and you make those choices for yourself. Personally, I do not weigh in because that's not my role. My role, that is higher than me. He decides,
Yeah.
but I don't weigh in on whether somebody should stay together or not. But I will ask a lot of questions to help you connect to that truth. Ultimately, I want to be able to create a space where both partners feel safe enough to explore the contours of their relationship. When things are working really well, what are we doing? If things aren't working well, what do we need to do? What do we need to give? What do we need to give up? Um, and if things are not working, what are the consequences of that? Are we ready for this emotionally, financially, spiritually, in other ways? Are we prepared to talk about that with our kids? How did we get here? These are a lot of the questions that I'm going to be asking so that you can, and any couple can make the best decision for the future of their relationship. But in my heart, I love, and while it is not up to me, my goal is to always help couples, if they want to, if they are ready to do the work and put the work in, to help them and guide them, in a path back to connection.
And how do you, with let's say couples who are considering, tying a knot. I mean, early on in the relationship, do you work with them as well?
Yes, I've done quite a bit of premarital therapy, actually.
Mhm.
And I think that my experience working with couples who've been married for so long, gives me a lot of insight into some of the issues that couples who are just getting married, and wanting to start their lives together, some things that they can avoid, or some questions and curiosities and issues that they need to work through and think about. For example, if they don't have children, one of the things that I talk to couples a lot about is, what does that journey look like for you? um, some people decide that parenthood is not for them,
Mhm.
and for another person that might be the biggest reality and the biggest dream that they have. So how do they start negotiating that? Or maybe both partners are on the same page with having children, but maybe it might be harder. They might have to do IVF, or they might have to go through other methods to be able to become parents, whether that's a reality for them or not. We talk about things like finances. Financial intimacy is a really big area of a couple's life together. Separate finances, separate everything, but this is a big area where trust can be eroded, if you're not transparent, if you don't bring your partner in, with you. Monogamy agreements. I believe, some people are like, I believe that I'm in a monogamous relationship, but what happens if those lines are blurred? And so there are a lot of insights and questions that I work with when doing previously premarital counseling. And some of the biggest kind of takeaways of somebody who's been in a long-term relationship, which is you have a lot of battle scars, but there's a lot of love and a lot of commitment. The lesson that I've learned from couples who've been together for a really, really long time is that even if they are not the most romantic, the most sexual people that they used to be, there is a deep level of devotion that they have to their shared life together, a sense of devotion and commitment that they have to their family, to their friends, to their, social and their network and their community. There is no question that, and people who've been married for quite some time not just have longevity, but are there through the thick and thin and have seen each other through hard times, dealing with parents' illness, being there and holding space for them when they really needed it most. Doesn't mean that there aren't issues to work through, but there is a lot of wisdom of couples that I've had the awesome honor to work with, and there is a lot of commitment and a lot of love that is there. And even some people are like, this is my person, we just need to figure this out because I'm not leaving them, this is my person.
There's some people talk about, and there was a book, the 5 love languages, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so do you incorporate anything about love languages or acts, or that you think are helpful tools that couples can use to sort of better connect or understand each other?
Sure. Okay. So, 5 Love Languages is probably the book that I hear the most about, that people will come in and be like, I'm an acts of service person. I'm a quality time person. And so I think what the Love Languages does well is to at least help begin the process of orienting how I receive love and how I give love. I think that's very important. So that's what the 5 Love Languages does very well. Above the 5 Love Languages, there is a whole constellation of books and insights that I think couples and anybody who, believes in love can work through, just so that they understand how we created our blueprint for love, for trust, for connection, for closeness, which really starts when we were very young, and our relationships that we had when we were growing up with our caregivers and the people that raised us, how we learned what trust looked like or lack thereof, how we learned what healthy relationships looked like or not. Many times we are doing that repair work as adults for maybe growing up in a single family home like I did, without a father.
Yeah.
And really having to work my way back to secure attachment and connection as an adult with my husband, because we are not given these manuals. So that's one thing. I think the second thing, when it comes to books, I have a book called Not Tonight that will be debuting with Storehouse Voices and Penguin Random House in 2028 in the spring. So stay tuned for that, because that'll be a comprehensive guide, especially for couples in long-term relationships or who wanting to reimagine what intimacy looks like. That'll be a really great guide. Outside of that, there are a couple of books suggestions that I think are very helpful. Sex Smart. Let's go to the bookcase. Sex Smart is actually a really great book if you want to reignite intimacy and you want to understand how attachment plays a role in all of that. It helps you understand how childhood affects your intimacy. So it's called Sex Smart. This is a really great read from Amazon. The second one, of course, I love Black Sexual Politics by Patricia.
I love the bookcase. I love the bookcase.
I have a lot of books.
Yes.
Another really great one, if we want to start with the basics, we're talking about love, but we also have to understand the nuts and bolts of how am I triggered in connection? Because I think that we want love as a construct, but we don't understand how when we are triggered by our partner, they are only reflecting within us the work that we have yet to resolve. And so how is our communication, our dynamics? How did you learn how to communicate? When you are in connection with a partner, do you lose yourself in that connection to be with a partner? Do you feel like you have to compartmentalize or, kind of like bury parts of yourself to stay in connection? Or with a partner, are you like, that's too close, and you find yourself having to maybe shut down or walk away, or you leave because intimacy feels very unsafe or very threatening to you. And so, for all of those reasons, I think Getting the Love You Want by Harville Hendrix is a really great introductory read. It's a really great book and guide for couples who really want to think about their communication styles, their attachment, and how that affects the way that they love. I think the last book, I feel like I have so many book suggestions.
Yeah, yeah. Well, let me just say, for the sake of time, you've given us some gifts for Valentine's Day, a lot of great tips, some books to read, what have you. But I want to ask you, in closing, is there a habit that you think every couple should prioritize for a healthier relationship? Is there something you think we should do beginning tonight or tomorrow on Valentine's Day to strengthen our relationships?
Yes, let's two takeaways.
Okay.
One, I think Valentine's Day, with the hype and all of the love, if you are in a season where you feel disconnected, where you're still working your way back to each other, Valentine's Day doesn't have to have so much pressure around it, because I think there is a lot of pressure to have the perfect gift, to say the perfect thing, to do the perfect thing, that it takes people away from really being present. So if you're in that season, connection is the biggest part of your day. And connection does not have to be pressure filled. It can start with a conversation. It can start with, an olive branch. If you feel like you've been distant, one of the biggest rituals of, connection habits that you can have is rituals of reconnection. And that can just mean, for Valentine's Day, writing a love letter and saying, listen, this is how I feel about you. I admire you for these reasons. These are the reasons why you're important to me. And really using the day to ground yourself and reconnect in love and in friendship. On a day-to-day basic, the second thing is you need rituals for your entire day. We cannot wait till date nights and vacations to try and reconnect. You
Mhm.
will have an entire year, and years will go by where you will continue to feel disconnected. And so every day there has to be these micro habits of connection. From when you wake up in the morning, our day can feel like it's on autopilot, but how are you greeting each other in the morning? How are we being thoughtful with each other when we wake up, when we send each other off into the day, and when we're busy throughout the day? How are you keeping in touch with your partner throughout the day? Are you sending text messages, not just for updates about, hey, the maintenance man is coming at this time? Like, everybody wants to feel seen.
Right.
Everybody wants to feel loved. So how are you doing your part to do that? And then when it comes to the end of the day, not just rolling over and going to sleep or having dinner and just talking about something mundane, how do you know and lock in, phones down, not scrolling, but
Mhm.
how are we locked into each other? Because just like a child who wants their mom to light up for them, as partners, we desire that, and our partners want that from us as well. So how are you lighting up for each other and creating these micro moments of connection every single day?
Well, I want to thank you, Marissa Nelson, founder of Intimacy Moons, for gracing us with your presence and gifting us with your advice for how to build stronger relationships. I really appreciate that. Congratulations on the book that you're
Thank
working on.
you.
It's something that we will definitely have you back on to talk about a little bit more.
Thank you.
And we wish you much success. And thank you. Thank you. My heart feels full.
I'm so grateful, and everybody have the best Valentine's Day. And thank you so much for having me.
All right. Have a good day.
You too.
Thank you.